Awesome. Patrick, are you ready to go to work everything through the e-commerce
I
of a
am
distributor?
just, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me know when you can see it. And if we have any of those gray bars as well, actually.
No gray boxes. You're good.
Okay, saved. All right.
Awesome.
So, with all that said, we'll jump into it. First off, thank you, Kelly. Um, I want to start by talking about essentially what would be the first step for most distributors, which is actually creating the orders, or the second step, I should say, because Kelly just went through actually having the distributor create the order internally within Acumatica. Now, that's a huge step. And where we get involved on the e-commerce side is shifting it so that we can allow the customers of the distributors to place the orders themselves in a world where they don't necessarily want to be typing the orders up for them, and they want to be more of a self-service shop. So before we jump into all that, we'll start by just briefly highlighting the state of e-commerce today, specifically business to business e-commerce in 2025. Now, every time it seems that I talk about this stat, it grows. Over the years, it was, a few years ago, it was in the billions, and now we're at 3 trillion. And so business to business e-commerce is essentially projected to reach an estimated $3 billion worth of sales by 2027. That's from Forrester. Right? So this number is continuing to grow all the time. It's safe to say that I think we've reached a point where it's no longer something that should be considered. And when I say it, I mean e-commerce. But it's something that should be sought out actively for anybody in the B2B space, because 80% of B2B sales interactions will occur via some sort of digital channel, often e-commerce. Now, us at k-ecommerce specifically, we have a platform designed specifically for the distributors, manufacturers, and wholesalers of the world. And today, obviously, we're focusing on the distributors. Now, I'm lucky to be part of an organization whose focus has been B2B commerce for the past 20 years. We're about 80 team members strong and currently helping over 600 businesses achieve their online goals by spanning that over 1,200 websites. Some customers have multiple websites. Really, our commitment to B2B commerce has enabled us to build lasting relationships with most of our clients, some of them spanning well over 8 years of business with us. We continuously look to adapt this digital landscape that we all see, and it's changing year over year, as I mentioned before. Our websites currently transact just over $3 billion worth of revenue, essentially through our platform each year. So these are huge numbers and a testament to that earlier stat I showed before, where e-commerce is growing at such an enormous pace. Now at k-ecommerce specifically, as I said, we're focused on business to business. Now, B2B e-commerce platforms demand more extensive integration capabilities to your back office accounting systems, Acumatica, specifically to address, unique requirements that businesses might have for their buyers. Contrarily, in the business to consumer or B2C world, or the retail space, everyone gets the same price, everyone's offered the same products, the same payment options, the same shipping methods, the same tax criteria. But in the business to business world, or in the distribution world, we're much more focused on the diversity among our different clients and what they should be getting. Right, so these integrations may include ERP systems, tax calculation software, and other critical businesses that we have here today and we're presenting. The idea is to create overall efficiency among the space. And that's where k-ecommerce really comes in to help B2B distributors, specifically with an e-commerce platform that fits what their needs might be and leverages core functionality, such as the integration with Acumatica and all the other elements that we're going to be talking about. So that's enough of the PowerPoint slides for me. Now I'm going to get into an actual presentation. I'm going to change my screen. Let me know when you can see it. I'm going to change my screen a couple of times throughout the presentation here today. Let me just double check that you can see everything okay. Perfect. Now, all this to say, we're going to start our presentation off by essentially going through an online store that we have set up that we're going to order different parts on rather quickly, just given the time. So we'll log in, we'll create an order, and then place that order or see that order be placed back office. Once we do that, we're going to go back a few steps, create a new order that will be synced to Acumatica, and we'll see what it looks like in Acumatica for real. And then we'll pass it off to all the other members on the call. So with that said, we have an online store before you. We see that we've designed it a certain way. So when it comes to branding, the overall look and feel of the store, this is totally changeable. And it all reflects what we want to represent as a distributor in terms of our overall branding to our customers. Now, at this point, I'm not logged in, right? So if I try to see anything, I might be blocked. In the business-to-business space, it can be very common that when I want to search for any parts, I might be able to see some items in that list, but I can't necessarily actually purchase anything. And in this example, you can see that I see the items on my screen, whoops, but I can't actually see the price for them. If you notice here, there's no pricing listed. Just having a bit of a difficulty with my mouse. I apologize. Something is happening to my screen. Let me try this. Whoops. We almost got through the technical difficulties here. Anyways, we'll try and power through. My mouse seems to be having a bit of a problem. I can't go back within my browser. All that to say, as I said, we're not signed in at this point. Customers can see certain products, but at many times, if we try and scroll down here, they can't actually see pricing. And that's strategically designed because in the distribution space, we might not want to show our products to the public. We might not want to show prices to the public. Only once a customer has registered and we know who they are, do we want to show pricing because it's different from customer to customer to customer. So with all that said, I can lock it down or I can show it, up to me. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and sign in. So you can picture myself being a customer of this website, essentially having a login information with an email address and password with which I can go ahead and sign in as a returning customer. Now, when I do that, I'll be greeted with quite a few different options where essentially every single customer and the contact from Acumatica will be synced over so they can potentially buy under their own account. And if you have an individual who potentially can buy from multiple customer accounts, we can enable the option to allow them to do that sort of thing online, right? So really tailoring that business to business experience. So what I mean by that is, let's say we have 2 or 3 different customers within Acumatica that are all part of the same, we'll say, organization, but yet they're different customers back office. Online, as a buyer for all 3 of those branches of the organization, I'll see all my different records here and I can say, oh, today I'm buying for store number 1 versus store number 2. I think I found the problem. There we go. So what that means is I've logged in essentially on behalf of my customer. I'm buying, whatever I might need for today. Right when I log in, we're showing 2 key pieces of information. The first one are the latest orders placed under my account. So we can see here the last 5 orders I placed with the organization, with the distribution company, and we can see the status of those orders. So as these orders turn into invoices, get shipped out, and all of the other things that need to be done to treat it, that status will automatically be updating to reflect what is going on for real within Acumatica. So the customer is always aware of what's happening if they log in. If I want to, I can click on any one of these orders and it'll essentially bring it up with all of the order details, again, coming from Acumatica. And if I'm the type of buyer who wants to pretty much buy the same thing all the time, I'm not too adventurous, I need to reorder quickly and efficiently, I can click on this Order Again button, which will essentially recreate that shopping cart in today's basket. And it'll make sure that all of the pricing is reflected in today's pricing and that all the inventory from Acumatica is reflected as well. So if we're accepting things on back order, that'll be made evident. If we are not, then they will be removed from the cart. Essentially, we're seeing that flow of information from the ERP into the online store so that we don't need to treat these orders manually. And from here, I can continue on, right? Now, we're also showing other key pieces of information that might be reflective of business-to-business transactions. For example, I can see a list of my frequently ordered products here. These are items that I buy on a regular basis. So it makes it very easy for me to add something to the cart without having to search for it. Now, speaking of search, of course, we can always enter search terms into the system and find the results. We're all familiar with this, so I won't spend too much detail on it. I'm assuming that everybody has shopped online before, but if I search by keyword, any of the keywords that I use will come up in the search result, and all items reflective of that will be available. That includes codes, customer codes, product codes, supplier codes, you name it. That includes attributes on the products, categories of the product, and of course, descriptions and other details. So I search for anything, it pops up in the results. Alternatively, we can use categorization of items, which are very important, to get the results. And we saw me do this before, but at this point, if I click through a category and open up one of these pages, you now see something a little bit different. Primarily, that these items now have a price. They now have the ability to add to cart. Again, all reflective on the fact that I am now signed in. So we know who the customer is, the price list they should be getting, and all of the other details listed on their account. So from here, I can pick my color, pick the voltage that I might want for this hand dryer and add it to cart. If I want to, I can open up the item, see further details, and move off of that concept. Right, so all this information can be coming or is created in our system so that we can have a full view of the items and really go into the details on anything related to sales. Of course, the key components like the code, the title, pricing, and inventory and images are all coming from Acumatica itself. So we've created a shopping cart here. One thing I'll do before checking out is talk about the order history. I mentioned at the beginning that we can see the last 5 orders on our account here in the system, but it goes much deeper than that. Because of our integration to Acumatica, we get a full view of every single order ever placed on our account here. So I can enter different search criteria to find the results. We'll see the statuses of those orders as well. So we can go through them all essentially and find the results. If I search by all, you'll get what's listed here. We see that one order is shipped, and we can even view those details to see tracking information and so on. So it doesn't matter if that order was placed through Acumatica or if it was placed through the online store or any other sales channel, it will be visible here online. Now, at this point, what I'll do is go to the checkout page where we see my place, typical order confirmation details, billing information, shipping addresses, where I can select my address that I want on file. And based off of those selections, we get shipping information that is now being calculated. Now, I can go into detail on this subject. I won't necessarily for today. Essentially, we can integrate directly to different carriers so that distributors get, or the customers of the distributors get the results for parcel shipping. In a situation where we need to have LTL or those type of larger, more complex calculations, we can always calculate those after the fact directly in Acumatica, which we'll see later today. All this to say, we'll move forward with the order. You see the final amounts here. If the customer is taxable, then the taxes will be calculated. If they are not taxable, then it'll show them as tax exempt where nothing is done here. Now, this system does connect fully to Avalara, so that's always good to know. We have a long-standing relationship with them, so that means any taxes that you do through Avalara will be available here automatically, ensuring tax compliance. And last but not least, the payment information. Now, in the B2B space, it's pretty common for customers to have bill on account, net 30s of the world, net 45s. If they select this type of option online, that's where payment is deferred to after, and that's where AcuPay is going to come in handy there. Otherwise, credit card can obviously be taken on the spot. All the customer has to do is add their credit card information. It is worth noting that when it comes to payments upfront within the system, credit card, the k-ecommerce system is fully PCI level 1 certified. So all that information is securely handled. I'm just checking the time here. I'll take a couple of more minutes just to wrap up. And really what I want to do now before placing the order is go back a couple of steps. Not too far to confuse anybody, but really what I'm going to do here is open up Acumatica for a second so that we can create that order and see it in Acumatica within a few seconds here. I'm going to stop this. So we're in Acumatica. We're under the customer that we're calling Products Wholesale. Right, so that's the name of the distribution company that we're impersonating here today. Now, the name Products Wholesale isn't necessarily the most, let's say, customer friendly. So the online store associated to this Acumatica instance, this customer, the Products Wholesale, is one that looks a little bit different and has a different branding. So what I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. If I go to my customer service mode, you'll see here I've decided to brand my store with the branding Audio Wave as the organization, right? And everything that happens here is connected to that Acumatica instance for Products Wholesale. So an important distinguishing factor there is that we can name this store whatever we want. What I want to show here is recreate an order, but to do that, I'm going to go through the customer service mode. Meaning that if I'm a customer service rep, and for some reason I'm not in Acumatica here today, I can use the online store, the k-ecommerce platform, to build an order for my customer. So ultimately, I see here my customer service mode. I see all of the customers on file. So I can impersonate one of my customers by simply selecting the name. I select Alta Ace and I select the individual that I'm speaking to here today. And once I do that, you'll notice at the top of my screen, it says I'm logged in on behalf of that customer. So all the details we went through, same as before. I see their information on file. I can place orders on their behalf. Everything that we did before is available here now. And to finish this off, I'm going to create an order and I'll do it rather quickly. You'll notice I have nothing in my shopping cart. Now, k-ecommerce has this dandy little tool that we call the quick order entry tool. And really what it does is it allows us to import spreadsheets of ordering. And this is particularly useful in the distribution space when I have long lists of orders that can contain 50, 100 line items sometimes. All that's required is for me to copy and paste these two columns, the code and quantity cells, into my Order Express tool. And when I click that paste, all those items are added to my cart in one shot. So we see we've added 16 or so items within a second or two. Any errors that might come up are listed here. In this case, there was no quantity added, so you'll see it there. So a great little tool that we love to talk about, and we can see more details at a different point. All this to say, I can proceed through the checkout once again, select my address that I might have on file. Let's go with this one. Move through the shipping information and all the rest of the details before actually checking out. Whoops, I need to put a phone number. Perfect. So now that that order is created, there's two main things that I have to highlight here before we can view it in Acumatica. The first one is that within seconds, this order will exist in Acumatica the same way that Kelly showed us orders were created before, except now it's done through the integration of this system. The second piece that's important to mention is that emails are sent out to all parties involved the way you would typically expect. That includes the customer, that includes your internal team, that includes potentially sales reps associated to those accounts. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into Acumatica. And when I do that, these are screens that we just talked about. I'll go to my favorites, which would have sales orders within them. And you'll see that there's an order that was placed on 225. That was here today. Order quantity 18. That was the item, the amount that I just created. And you'll see here that if I open up that sales order, just like before, all those items are listed in the cart. However, it was done through the e-commerce platform. Tax implications are provided here, shipping information, and all the rest is listed here within the order. And on that note, I'll pass it back to Amy to go further down the line after the order was created.
Great. Okay.